This call is now being recorded.
Good morning,
Starting
everyone. Welcome to Visit English Series of Learning Conference. Okay, let's introduce yourselves first. Start with Richelin Suico, Janelle Samal, Karen Rose Faye, and Mary Chris Collis. I'll be the last. Go.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lynn Sueco.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Saman.
Good morning. My name is Marcus Solis.
Good morning. I'm Karen Rose Pegumanoy.
Hey, good morning to all. I'm Dennis Apog, your host right now. So let's have to start here. The theory of learning in psychosexual development by Sigmund Freud. Go ahead, Miss Collis.
Hello, sir. Can you repeat what you said?
Deliver the psychosexual development theory by Sigmund Freud.
Okay, hello. Good morning again, everyone. I will introduce to you what is the theory of Sigmund Freud. In Freudian theory, the human mind is structured into two parts. And these parts are the unconscious mind and the conscious mind. Okay, the conscious mind is the acute awareness. You are being aware. Consists of thoughts that are the focus on our attention now. The other one is the unconscious mind. Unconscious is a reservoir of thoughts, wishes, feelings, and moments that are hidden from awareness because they feel unacceptable. Also, Freud proposed that personality development in childhood takes place during these five psychosexual stages: the oral, the anal, phallic latency, genital, and genital stages. This these stages I will explain to you later. So further explanation, I will do that later. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the overview. Now let's have proceed to Eric Erickson's psychosocial theory.
Okay, again, good morning. I will discuss na the whole stages of psychosocial development of Erikson. And according to Erikson, a person passes through 8 developmental stages that build on each other. At each stage, we face a crisis, and by resolving the crisis, we develop psychological strengths or character traits that help us become confident and healthy people. Also, Erickson maintained that personality develops in a predetermined order through right stages of psychosocial development from infancy to adulthood. And during each stage, the person experiences a psychosocial crisis, which could have a positive or a negative outcome for personality development. And the first stage is the trust versus mistrust. This is from birth to 12 to 18 months old. The first stage of Erikson theory begins at birth and lasts until your baby approaches their first birthday and a little beyond. You provide your children's basic needs, and by this, you teach them that they can depend on you. This builds within them the psychological strength of trust, feeling secure and also safe, no? Your infant will be ready to experience the world. And the second stage is the autonomy versus shame and doubt. This is from 18 months to 3 years old. In this stage, your child realizes that they can do some things by themselves and they insist on those things, no? And the children who aren't given the chance to assert themselves within the limits you set will battle with the feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt, according to Erikson. And on the third stage, this is initiative versus guilt from 3 to 5 years old. These are the preschool years, no? You should encourage your child to plan, also to take responsibility by making sure they have plenty of opportunities to interact with others. And when you, the parent, are controlling or support your child when they make decisions, your child may not be equipped to take the initiative. Also, may lack ambition and could be filled with guilt. So you must have to support your children, guys. The fourth stage is industry versus inferiority. This is from 5 years old to 12. This stage, your child has hit elementary level. At this stage, they learn new skills and their circle of influence here are also widens. When your child succeeds, they feel industrious and believe they can set goals. However, if your child have repeated negative experiences at home or feel that society is too demanding, they may develop feelings of inferiority. That's what according to Erikson. Next is identity versus confusion. From 12 years old to 18 years old, this is the adolescence. At this psychosocial development of stage, your child faces the challenge of developing a sense of self. And then they form their identity by examining their beliefs, their goals, and also their values. And they become more independent. The next stage is the intimacy versus isolation. This is from 18 years old to 40 years old. This is the time to invest in commitment to others, no? This is where we belong because we are already 30s. The psychosocial challenges now, according to Erikson, is build long-term loving relationship. That feels safe. If you are a lack of security and warmth of a loving relationship, then you are now more likely to experience loneliness and depression. So, yung mga single dyan, dapat may mga jowa-jowa na ba? Para hindi maging depressed. On stage 7, this is generativity versus stagnation, no? From 40 years old to 65 years of age. This 7th stage is characterized by a need to give to others. The people who complete this stage successfully have the satisfaction of knowing that you are needed. And the last stage is integrity versus despair. This is over 65 years old. This is the stage of reflection. The people who are proud of what they've done experience genuine satisfaction in this stage. However, the people who didn't complete the previous stages may have feelings of loss and regret. That's according to Erik Erikson. That's all the 8 stages of a psychosocial development.
Okay, thank you very
And
much
next-
for the deep explanation. Now let's proceed to Jean Piaget's cognitive development.
Okay, good morning again, everyone. Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development suggests that intelligence changes as children grow. A child's cognitive development is not just about acquiring knowledge. The child has to develop or construct a mental model of the world. Cognitive development occurs through the interactions of innate capacities of the child and environmental events, and children pass through a series of stages. So there are 4 theory of cognitive developments of Jean Piaget's, which are the number 1, the sensory motor, number 2, the pre-operational, number 3, the concrete operational, and number 4, the formal operational. So later, I will discuss what those developments of Jean Piaget's are. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now let's have my part, the moral development by Lawrence Kohlberg. Um, When we say moral development, it talks about the three levels of child's development in terms of the morals. So in Kohlberg's theory, it is broken down into three primary levels. Each level of moral development, there's two stages, similar to how PJ believed that not all people reach the highest levels of cognitive development. Kohlberg believed not everyone progresses to the highest stages of normal development. So these levels are namely pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional levels. At first, the stage one in pre-conventional level, this includes obedience and punishment, wherein a child could see that he obey for such rule because of the tendency of having a punishment. It could be positive or negative punishment. The next stage two, individualism and exchange. At the individualism and exchange stage or more of moral development, children account for individual points of view and judge actions based on how they are served individual needs. So he will be put in dilemma if he follow or not, considering the consequences happen if he could not follow it. Then next, conventional morality. The three stages are developing good interpersonal relationships, maintaining a social order, and this the first one, developing good interpersonal relationship, talks about good boy or good girl orientation. This stage of interpersonal relationship moral development is focused on living up social expectation and rules or conformity. So the behavior of a child or the morality of a child depends on the rule and norms of the society he or she living. So he must abide these rules for them to be inclined with the society. The next is maintaining social order. Then the stage focus on ensuring that social order is maintained. As this stage moral development, people begin to consider society as whole when making judgments. So it is the obligation of child to follow that rule because if he will not follow, he will he will be considered by society as a juvenile or against with those rules. A child that is making rude actions to that rules. The last level, the post-conventional morality, and its sub-levels, the social contract and develop individual rights. So it is differing values, opinions, and beliefs of other people. Rules of law are important for maintaining a society, but members of society should agree upon these standards. So it is the obligation and responsibility of a child to follow such rules, for this is in accordance with the values and opinions and beliefs with others. So it is not only for the punishment or the reward, but rather than responsibility and obligation. So it is part of the development of child. Then the last one, the universal principles. Kohlberg's final level of moral reasoning is based on universal ethical principles and abstract reasoning. This stage, people follow these internalized principles of justice even if they conflict with laws and rules. So this regards a conflict of the rules, but this It's a matter of how the child react or having a reasoning based on the universal principles. He could respond in a positive or negative way. And that's it. Let's proceed now to Levi Vygotsky, the cognitive theory and zone of proximal development.
Okay, good morning again. So now I will discuss the Vygotsky theory. Lev Vygotsky theory assess that learning is an essentially social process in which the support of parents, caregiver, peers, and a wider society and culture plays a crucial role in their development of higher psychological function. So Vygotsky believed that the development of the child is in the social interactions of us to others. So there are three main concepts related to cognitive development by Lev Vygotsky. So number one, culture is significant in learning. Number two, language is the root of culture. And number three, individual learn and development within the role in the community. And then Vygotsky believes that the development of the child is in social interaction. Vygotsky claimed that we have born in these four elementary mental function. So number one is the attention, number two is the sensation, number three is the perception, and number four is the memory. So this is the most important application of Vygotsky theory to education in his concept of a zone of proximal development. So Vygotsky focuses this ZPD, the zone proximal development. What is zone proximal development? It is defined as the space between a learner can do without assistance and what a learner can do with adult assistance or guidance. So in this CPD, the for example, the teacher observe there's a student. Like example, the student ask their capability if he can or if or she can do that. Like what I can't do. So the student question herself if uh, she can do this or not. But the teacher give her a task that observing her if she can do it alone. Oh, that's the one part of the proximal. We can do it on our own. So maybe she can solve the problem in her own. And the second is um, by the help of others like friends, adult, technology, or the more manageable others. So by the help of others in our environment, it can also improve the skills of individual. So the things become is easier if the others will help us. So that's the focus of ZPD, the zone of proximal development. That's
Thank you
all.
very
Thank you
much
very much
for the
for the
excellent
excellent
elaboration
elaboration
of
of
Vygotsky's
Vygotsky's
theory.
theory.
Now,
Now,
I'll give you an overview from Brunfrener ecological system theory. This theory is about on how a student or a child can learn based on environment. That environment plays an important factor on how the learner able to learn based on social attributes, the people surrounds him, the places, as well as the events happening to the child. So there is a big impact on the learning and the social development of a child, as well as on his behavior. Okay, now let's proceed to our questions. Later, I will elaborate more about Bronfenner's theory. Okay, Ms. Collis, can you make a summary or elaborate in Freud's components of personality?
Yes. Okay, as I promised, I will continue to discuss about the three components of personality: the ID, the ego, and the superego. Okay, so wait. Okay, the ID is the pleasure, instincts. You are being impulsive. You are not aware. The ID. You are being not aware, and this is the unconscious level, well before below the surface of awareness. And the ego are the reality, being aware in ideas, thoughts, and feelings. And this time you are conscious, operates mainly at conscious level, but also at pre-conscious level. And so the super ego, this time this reality is the ego is the you are being aware, ha. So next is the super ego. For perfection, there is a morality. For example, you are striving for perfection. For example, in a child, um, in learning, he wants to eat an ice cream. And how to apply this in ID? In ID, um, the child directly eats the ice cream. And ego, reality. This time, the child bites the ice cream already. So, he's being aware na. And the super ego, this is the uh it enters the morality, because this time he learned that this ice what is the effect of the ice cream for his body. So this time maybe when the child learns in siguro mga dako-dako na dako-dako na siya, then he is being he is gaining weight na. So ay mag diet ako because this ice cream is not good for me. Okay? And also I will continue to discuss that eight stages of psychosexual stages. First is the oral stage. It's this range birth to 1 year. The erogenous zone is the mouth. During this stage, the infant primary source of interaction is the through the mouth. So as you observe you are a mother now, you can observe your children that they are doing blah 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 blah. So that's the way they interact here. Ano. The mouth is vital for eating, and the infant derives pleasure from oral stimulation. And also, the child develops a sense of trust, who who care for them, like parang yung mga mother niya doon na siya nagtatrust lang kasi from the start doon yung niya, doon yung mind niya siya yung caretaker ko, ganon. And the second stage
Okay.
is the anal stage, from 1 year to 3 years old. The erogenous zone is the bowel and bladder control. Okay, during this stage, Freud believed that the primary focus of libido was on controlling bladder, and bowel movements. So this time, uh, he learns how to poop. Parang, hala, may lalabas sa may na siya dito sa, parang may pang-control na niya yung pag-poop niya. The child has to learn to control his bodily needs. And also, the third one is the phallic stage, range 3 to 6 years old. Years old. The erogenous zone is the genitals. During this stage, the primary focus of the libido is on the genital, as the children also begin to discover the difference between males and females. So this time, makabalo na ang students na I am males, females, and he is interacting to females, he is interacting to males. Freud believed that boys begin to view their fathers as a rival for mother's affection. Makikita, makikita na niya yung na si mama ug papa niya is there is affection. Parang maano na nila, may love na nakikita siya. Okay?
Mm.
And the fourth one is the latent period, range 6 to puberty. Erogenous zone was the sexual feelings are inactive. During this stage, the superego continues to develop while the ID energized are suppressed. Children develop social skills, values, and relationship with peers and adults outside the family. He learns how to communicate others na he can socialize this 6 years old to puberty, of course. Okay. And the last one is the genital stage, puberty to death. So, the erogenous zone is maturing sexual interest. This time, yung sexual interest mo is talagang nag-activate na. During the final stage, psychosexual development, the individual develops a strong interest in the opposite sex. The stage begins during the puberty, lasts throughout the rest of your life. The goal of this stage is to establish a balance between various life stages. And that's all. Maybe Mr. Noah, you can continue your topic.
Okay, thank you very much for the in-depth explanation. Let's give applause for that. Now, let's proceed since you already give the psychosexual theory, so let's proceed now to John Piaget's psychosocial theory. It's only a summary from what you have discussed since you have already explained it earlier.
Okay.
Yes, Rico.
Good morning again. I'm Kamba.
Yes, someone.
The first one was the sensory motor. Sensory motor, you can also help your child throughout these stages by catering to their specific learning style at the time. Like for example, you will use a real objects in play activities so that your child or your children can determine the objects, and even if that objects will not out of his I will out of his sight, he will picture out on his mind on what object is that. The second one is the pre-operational. Children learn best by doing himself only. Allow them to actively interact with a variety of things in their environments, concluding books, peoples, games, and objects. The third one is the concrete operational. Concrete operational create timelines, three-dimensional models, science, experiments, and other ways to manipulate abstract concepts. The last but not the least, the formal operational. It is offer step-by-step explanations of concepts and utilize charts and other visuals aids. The main points of Piaget's theory is he proposed 4 stages of cognitive development. Um, these four stages are the sensory motor from birth 18 to 24 months old, and the goal of it is the object permanence. Pre-operational from age 2 to 7 years old, the goal is symbolic thought. The concrete operational from age 7 to 11 years old, the goal of it is for the operational thought. And the last but not the least, the formal operational, the adolescence to adulthood. The goal of it is to abstract concepts. And that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that explanation. Now let's proceed to psychosocial theory. Um, can you give your reflection out of that, Miss Rico, or a brief
Okay.
explanation?
How psychosocial development apply to teaching learning? Psychosocial development apply to teaching learning, no, by creating a safe environment um, where each child feels appreciated and comfortable exploring their knowledge and also relationship to each to each peers rather than letting fear inhibit learning. That's how that's psychosocial development apply to teaching learning.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll give a summary for what I've discussed earlier. Then the three levels of moral development, according to um, Kohlberg, well, it's about the first level, the pre-conventional, second, conventional, and the third, post-conventional development. Now, in the sub-levels, there are 6 sub-levels. First, in pre-conventional, let's have here the obedience and punishment. Second, the individualism and exchange. Then, at the level 2, the conventional morality, we have here developing good interpersonal relationships. The other one is maintaining social order. Then in level 3, the post-conventional morality, let's we have social contract and individual rights. Yes, and the last one, universal principles. So this moral development is very important as a teacher later, because we can include this one in our teaching, not just for cognitive or skills development, but also the moral development, specifically in affective domain of a child. So it's a part of growing up, it's a part of maturity, and it's part of learning. So sooner they will be holistic individuals. They're just not learning only for knowledge base, but also for morality. So as far as they can go in their profession, or as they grow older, they will bring this one and they could share their moralities to people they encountered and they want to share. Now let's ask Miss Gumanoy about ZPD. What is ZPD, by the way? Miss Gumanoy.
Ay, isa ba? Yes. Okay, as what I said earlier, the ZPD is the zone of proximal development, which can test that what we can do in our own. And then the second is what we can do by the help of others, uh, parents, peers, technology, and in our environment. So that's the focus of ZPD. What you call it, the observation of yourself, if how you handle in your own, and how you handle or how you observe yourself together with others.
Okay, thank you very much. Now let's have here the BES, or Bronfenbrenner's ecological system theory. First, I will expound it because earlier I just gave only the viewpoint. Okay. In his theory, the ecological system theory, it's composed of 5 systems. Now, Bronfenbrenner recognized there are multiple aspects of developing child's life that interacts with and affects the child. This work looked beyond individual development, taking into account wider influencing factors and the context or the ecology of development. So he proposed the ecology system theory based on the dynamic interactions that the environments have on the developing child. In other words, the the environment of child affects on his holistic learning. So we have here, he named the structures such as these are follows: microsystem, mesosystem, exosystem, macrosystem, and the chronosystem. In microsystem is the first level of his theory. It direct contact with child in their immediate environment. This includes parents, siblings, teachers, and school. So child observe based on the actions and based on the affection of the people that are near to him or her, that he engage every day. Could be um, friends, uh, first parents, and also in school, teachers and classmates. So this has to do with the holistic learning of a child. Next, the mesosystem encompasses the interactions between child's microsystems, just interaction between child's parents, teachers, between schools and peers. So this regards on how parents interact other people. So a child also observed this one. So upon observing, he he also learning on how her mother or her teacher interact with others, or friends interact with other people. So he could gain knowledge out of that. Could be in a positive or negative way, depending on how those people my in who is nearer to him that could influence him based on their actions or their moods or their moralities. Next, the ecosystem is a component of ecology systems theory developed by Brenner. Um, this is about informal social structure which do not themselves contain a child, but indirectly influence them as they affect one of microsystems. This could be a parents' workplace, parents' friends, and the mass media. So let's have an example, the television. It has a big impact to child's minds, right? So even though it is not usually the who influence the child, but this could have also a big impact on the learning and the development of a child of growing up. Because as what he see, he inculcated in the mind, I will say that those things are real and those things can be applied in his life as well as on his family. So this is also plays an important factor. Next one, of macro system. Component of this includes the socioeconomic status, wealth, poverty, and ethnicity. So what I've mentioned is also plays an important factor that could affect learning development of a child in its holistic learning, because those really affect child's needs. For example, the economic status of his family. So if a child sees there is a problem based on his parents, so he can also affected on those problems. So this could give a negative impact. But otherwise, if there is a negative outcome or the negative basis, oh my god, a positive one rather. If there is a positive outlook, so that child also responds in a positive way. The last one is chronosystem. This includes the major life transitions and historical events. So, for example, if the grandparents of a child died, this also affects to him. It's a transition of his life. He lost a loved one, especially if they are so close to him. So this could also affect on child's learning and holistic learning. Also, the historical events as well as um, before the colonization. If you're learning in school, Spanish colonization, American colonialization. In his early minds, this could also affect on how child interpret historical events, and this is related to his life and present. So, as a future educator as well as a teacher, we can use this theory upon teaching because we can engage our students outside the classroom, because the classroom is not only the learning area where wherein students can learn, can engage if if it is applicable. We must ensure the assurance and of the safety of of the students, like of field trips where we bring them to the museum that they can learn, or environmental learning based on the environments, the nature, can bring them parks, a zoo, or in the areas where nature involved. They could learn, especially in it's like lesson of air pollution, the water pollution, as well as the legal logging, just like that. So we can achieve our our goal in teaching through these activities. Okay, anyone can add how can we apply these theories to teaching learning situations?
Me then.
Okay,
Um,
go.
According to Piaget suggested that the teacher's role involved providing appropriate learning experiences and materials that stimulate students to advance their thinking. His theory has influenced concepts of individual and student-centered learning, formative assessment, active learning, discovery learning, and peer interaction. That's it.
Okay, any more? I think we have already given our insights and how we can apply these theories in our learning. Okay, thank you very much, guys, for this wonderful experience that we have shared to everyone. I know we're learning and we can apply this in our teaching career sooner. Thank you very much. I hope you have a great day.
Open cam.
See, see you next
Thank
conference.
you.
Thank you very much. Del.
Okay na, okay na din.